ask for a big formal space, but I suppose we can enjoy the comfort of the seats and we can see each other. I'm very glad to welcome our guest from the French group Front de Gauche, Sylvain Sevier, and we have from the Green Left, Peter Allen. They're both going to give us an introductory sort of talk, and then I'm hoping that you may have one or two questions or so, but I'm hoping that this will then develop into more of a conversation amongst everyone who's chosen to come to this session, where we can share ideas, share questions, and perhaps answers and ideas will come from others in the room and not just from the top panel, just because we're sitting behind a big table with a clock. So just to set the scene, as I say, so we're still feeling the effects of the financial crisis that started in 2008. The effects have been uneven. Some places across Europe have been hit worse than others. I was out in Greece very early last year. At that point, hospitals were out of antibiotics, antiseptic, out of bandages, out of painkillers. It is worse now, and there have been sort of shipments of donated aid there. The pension, the value of pensions had dropped by 50%. Minimum wage was cut overnight by 20%. When people's wages were cut, they were told to, you're lucky you have a job. So many people unemployed. Small population relatively in Greece, about 11 million. Only, I think, about 3.5 million of those in known paid work. Lots of people who not know where their means of income is coming from or how they're surviving. Some of them living off farmlands. In Britain, we have a coalition government imposing austerity measures as their ideological onslaught, their sort of way of using the economic crisis to bring in their ideological, radical, revolutionary changes to our way of life that by April this year could have fundamentally changed the basis of our NHS. Unfortunately, they've been able to play on the changes in the education system with the introduction of the academies under Labour. They've completely changed, swiveled round the reasons and criteria for schools becoming academies. But right from the beginning, teaching professions, education professions were warning that these changes to academy status would be the slippery slope towards privatisation. And, we should have been on that ball as a party right back in 2006. Martin Francis has put through a motion which you have passed at conference now for us to take this seriously and to fight for what is right. But we can't just work. Locally we have to work. Regionally, nationally we have to work and to fight the campaigns against cuts, against closures, against fracking, against environmental vandalism that's going on. But we cannot but realise we are a bigger part of Europe. With the European debate coming upon us, do we stay in, do we stay out, what do we do, how do we best work together? Greens are saying, yes, we have a referendum, yes, we want radical changes. We are saying that that's probably the more practical way forward rather than pulling out and then hoping to build some other sort of forum of links with Europe, which would need more radical situations on the ground before we could get such structures to replace what we've got. So it's, let's use what we've got, let's radically reform that. But austerity is being used across the whole of Europe, as well as the UK, to tackle economic crises. And the environment is being abandoned. Our future, the practical, rational, scientific reasoning behind how we should be planning ahead are all being ignored with these sort of more short-term goals. What are we going to do? What are we doing here with no proportional representation in our elections? We've made some dramatic wins. Getting an MP was the most remarkable thing we could do here. What do we do? How much energy are we as a party going to put into electoral politics if with this amount of work we do, in 20 years' time we'll have double the amount of councillors, no influence, and climate change crisis has got to a point where we're way beyond 2 degrees. What are we going to do to try and influence the sort of, perhaps the possibility of a wave of change in the consciousness of the people of Britain, where they will be able to turn around and say, that party's not standing for me, that party's not looking for the future, that party won't create a Britain safe enough for my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. How are we going to build the strength as a people, ignoring party politicians who look in electoral short-term cycles? Can we build a strength amongst ourselves to the side of party politics? Can we do that across the whole of Europe? I would say to you, this is already starting, but we need to all consider this together, and if we're going to make it powerful and to work, we all have to say, yes, this is what we want. And of course, we can't ignore, being Greens, that we are living on one planet, and as the lovely Brian Cox shows us on a regular basis, you know, the conditions for life are fragile and wondrous. And we know that that's an absolute reality and a framework within which all our thinking and planning must do. So from electoral politics to building a mass movement to creating conditions where people have the confidence to reject austerity economics, what can we do to have a population confident to say we have these values, like having an NHS, like having slightly too many firemen and lifeboatmen than we need, just in case, you know, to having free education and opportunities for all. How do we turn that into a situation where people are demanding a different sort of politics, which I think the Greens are, but it may be, you know, that we have to tackle our future and political future in a slightly different way than simple party political battles. I'll say no more now. And can I welcome Sylvain Xavier from the front to gauche. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll only take 10 minutes of your time. First of all, I'd like to thank Natalie Bennett for a kind invitation, and Romaine Phoenix for her renewed friendship. And also thank you very much to all the party members for their warm welcome. Our ecosystem faces a major challenge: capitalism.